Hello folks, Cal Kellogg here. Let's take a look at the basic tackle required for drifting live bait in San Francisco Bay for halibut and striped bass. This is actually my wife's setup. She's running with a Abu Garcia 9000i level wind reel. It's a big game reel. And it's loaded with 65-pound braid. Using this rig, she caught 3 halibut on a couple strip and a couple stripers too, as well as some shakers. The rod is very important. This is a 7-foot Seeker rod. It's a fairly stout rod. You don't need a real heavy rod for land and stripers and halibut, but you do need some backbone for handling the weights that are sometimes required. Let's check out the tip of this rod. It's a pretty fast action stick. You'll see it has a good deal of bend in the first, 25% of the rod, but after that, it's all backbone. And that's important because a lot of the time when you're out there drifting live bait, you're going to be using fairly small sinkers like this 4-ouncer. But at other times when the water's deep or the drift is fast due to wind or current, you might be using an 8-ounce sinker. You might have to go all the way up to a 16-ounce sinker when you're bouncing, live bait on the rocks when the bass are by Alcatraz or other spots in the bay where there's lots of current, lots of snags, and the water's fairly deep. So you need a rod that can handle a range of different weights. Beyond that, live bait drifting requires a specialized leader. It's not complicated. Everything's built off of we call this a 3-way live bait rig. Everything's built off of a three-way swivel. On one eye of the swivel, we've got a short dropper. It goes down to your sinker. Some guys prefer to put a snap right here. I just make a loop and drop it through. I'm cheap. I don't like to buy a bunch of snaps. The theory is that when you hook a fish on this, if you get snagged in the rocks, the sinker can break away and you're free to fight the fish without the weight and you'll land the fish. Now, my entire leader here is constructed of 20-pound fluorocarbon line. So on the other eye of the 3-way, you've got about a 36-inch leader that leads down to a perfection loop knot, and that knot sports a small, high-quality live bait hook. You need a small, high-quality hook because you don't want to damage the anchovies. You want it to be really lively, but you've got to have a hook that's going to dig into the tough mouth of a halibut or a striper and hold a fairly large fish. I mean, these fish can be 20, 30 pounds, best case scenario. So you need a high-quality hook. Eagle Claw Laser Sharps, Gamakatsu's owners, stuff like that. Make sure you use either a ring eye live bait hook or an octopus hook. I prefer to spring for the real live bait hooks. I just find that they work better and they hold fish real well. And finally, to the third eye of the 3-way swivel, you attach your main line. Now, as a final point, when you've got this all baited up and you're ready to fish, the most effective way to catch a halibut is to fish out of the rod holder. What you want to do is you want to drop this down, spool it down to the bottom until the sinker just ticks the bottom. You don't want to be dragging through the sand really hard. You want your sinker to touch occasionally. The depth is pretty consistent out there. So you lower your line down until you feel the sinker hit. Bring up maybe a half turn of line, quarter turn of line, and put your rod in the holder. When you get hit, you'll know it. Striped bass, they slam it and off they go. Halibut, they tend to load up. The rod will go down. You've got them. Take the rod out of the holder and start reeling. Now, how you bait up is important. So let's go over to Chris Smith, and he's going to explain how to put the live anchovies on the hook.
I'm Chris Smith. I own Captain Hook Sport Fishing, and I'm also a co-captain aboard the California Dawn. And here I'm going to show you the proper way of baiting up your live bait rig with an anchovy. First, you want to make sure that you handle your anchovy nice and friendly, okay? Right underneath his lower lip and out through the nose.